The method for solving Square-1 Blindfolded that I'm going to be covering today is a mix between Mike Hughey's method and the Gnarls method. So I'll provide links for both of their methods in the description below. Because the Square-1 typically starts in a different shape than the solved position, and the piece is bandage, there's really only two ways to go about solving this blindfolded. You can either track pieces to where they will be after you have solved it into a square, or you can memorize a bunch of different cases. And the second is what I believe to be the best method in the long run. So that's what I'm going to be going over. Okay, let's begin. First I'm going to go over memorization, then I'll go over execution, and lastly I will do an example solve. To memorize this puzzle, I use letters, but it's different than on a 3x3 because corners and edges can trade places. So I assign a letter to each possible position that a piece can be in. So I start at the slice and letter A, B, and there's two letters on each corner because a corner takes up two positions. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and then on the bottom, start at the slice, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X. So those are the letters I use for the positions. For the pieces, I use the letter of the position they're in solved state. So for the corners, this is J, this is A, D, and G, and then this is W, N, Q, and T. And then for the edges, this is L, C, F, I, and this is M, P, S, V. So when you begin a solve, you will have a cube shape. And for each cube shape, there are 4 pieces of information you need to have memorized. And I have all of that in a spreadsheet that I'll have linked in the description. So you can take a look at that to see what you need to memorize. The first piece of information is the actual cube shape. And that'll be 2 letters. 1 letter for the shape on top and 1 letter for the shape on the bottom. So in this case, this is O and this is S. So this cube shape is OS. The second piece of information is the indicators, and that tells you how the faces need to be aligned. So this is the correct alignment for this case, but if it was here and here, that would be wrong. So I need to know how to position the cube shapes in order to get them back to a square. And the way that I memorize this is you start with the most counterclockwise corner of the largest group. So that's this one right here, since this is the largest group and this is the most counterclockwise. And you just count in alphabetical order. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. In this case, the first letter is C, so that is the piece that goes at this position on the slice. On the bottom, the letter for this is F, and this is the largest group of corners. This is the most counterclockwise, so A, B, C, D, E, F. And I have this piece right here on the slice. If you have 2 sets of corners with the same amount, then you go by which is the most counterclockwise set of corners. So this set of corners is more counterclockwise than this one, and this is the most counterclockwise corner in that set. So this would be the corner I start on when I'm counting. If the shape is symmetrical, it doesn't matter. I could start on either this corner or this corner. The third piece of information is an edge matrix, and that tells you which positions the edges will be in when they get back to a cube. So it has 8 letters, and the letters go in this order: 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So in this case, the first four letters are O, F, U, L. And that's because the piece that will go here is right here, and that is O. The piece that'll go here is right here, and that's F. The piece that'll go here is down here, and that's U, and then the piece that goes here is right there, which is L. So by using that matrix, I know where these pieces will be when I solve it back into a cube. And the fourth piece of information is very similar to the third, but for the corners. And this order is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. So for this case, the first four letters of the corners are A, N, Q, K. And that's because the piece that goes here is in A, the piece that goes here is in N, the piece that goes here is in Q, and the piece that goes here is in K. So when I solve this into a cube, those pieces will be where I predicted them to be. So the first thing I do when I'm memorizing is recognize the cube shape. And I know this is G and this is B. So I think about what the indicators are. And for GB, the indicators are C, D. So C on top, D on bottom. So now I want to find the orientation. On the top, I find the most counterclockwise corner, which is this, and then count A, B, C. So this piece will be over here in the A position. So when I'm looking for orientation, I want to remember this is A. The other indicator is D. So I count A, B, C, D. This is going to be in the M position. So when I'm looking at orientation, this is the M. So now I want to find edges. So I first want to know what piece is going to be here, since this is my buffer, the yellow and blue. And in the matrix, the first letter is here, then here, then here, then here. So I want to know what the fourth letter in the matrix is. So for this case, the edge matrix is AFGC BHOR. So the fourth letter was C. And C is going to be here, since this is A. So I know this piece needs to go here, which is S. So the first letter I'm going to memorize is S. Now I want to see what piece is going to be in S. So that's the seventh letter of the matrix, which is O. And when this is in M, this piece will be in O. So I look at that. That's going to be here. So I'm going to memorize F. So my first two letters of edge memro would be S, F. So I memorize as safe. And that's how you do edges. Corners is similar. This is my buffer, and the corner letters are WD, SK, UMIP. So the first letter was W, so I need to look at W. That's going to be here. And that piece is G. So my first letter is G, and then this is the fourth letter, which was K. So then I look at K, which is here, and that is actually the buffer. So I'd have to break into a new cycle. So my first letter was G, and then I'll check to see where A is. The second letter is D, which is right here, and so then that's here. So my first three letters would be G, A, D, and then I'd continue like that until I'm done. So once I go to execute this, I put this piece in the A position since my indicator was that, and then this piece in the M position, and then do a slice, and then I'm going to continue until I get it back into a cube. And now you can see the buffer goes to S, and that goes to F, and then for corners, this goes here, and then that goes back to the buffer, so I break into a new cycle, and then it'll go to D. So that's an example of a memorization. So with that method, you have to memorize 20 letters for each case, and there are 90 different cube shapes you can get. Now you can cancel one of those out because it's cube, but still that leaves 89 cube shapes with 20 letters, which is 1,780 letters, and that's a lot. So this is where the Gnarls method comes in. he figured that you don't have to memorize all of them. If you can track one slice while you're memorizing, that shortens the number from 89 down to 25. So you only need to memorize 25 of these cases, and then if you get a case that you don't have memorized, like this one, you can just track a slice away. So I would imagine these 4 pieces to be on top and these 4 pieces to be on bottom in the square shape. And that allows you to have to memorize less before actually solving. So this is actually a case I don't have memorized. This is GA, which I don't know, but I do know that it's one slice away from something I do know. So if I slice these 4 pieces to the top and these 4 pieces to the bottom, I will have a case I do know. So when I'm memorizing, I want to imagine these 4 right here and these 4 right here. And then once I put the blindfold on, I can do that, and it'll put it in this shape that I know. All right, now I'm going to move on to execution. So for execution, there's 4 algs. There's a counterclockwise A-perm, a clockwise A-perm, a counterclockwise U-perm, and a clockwise U-perm. So I'm going to do them slowly. I'm not going to say out loud what the notation is, because Square-1 notation's weird to say out loud, but I'll put it on the screen. So this is the counterclockwise U-perm. And then I'll do the clockwise U-perm, which is basically just the inverse of that. And now the counterclockwise A-perm. And the clockwise A-perm, which again is just the inverse. So the only other things you need to know for execution are the extraneous cases. So here I have 2 edges swapped but nothing else, which is a parity. And you would recognize this by having 1 extra letter at the end of your edges. So if you have an odd number of edges. In this case, when I'm executing, I'll just add an L to create a pair and execute it like this. So here I have M. I would set it up to this position, and then the letter pair is ML, so I need this to go here, which is a clockwise U-perm. So I'll execute that, and then undo the setup moves, and now I just have these 2 to swap. So I'll do a U2, and now I do my parity alg, which I'll perform it here, and I'll have the alg on screen. And then these 2 pieces were swapped. Also, if this bar is flipped like this at the end of the solve, you probably already know this, but slice 6, slice 6, slice 6. Another kind of parity you can get is just 2 corners swapped. So in this case, I will have 1 corner letter at the end of my memo. So what I do is add an A to that cycle. So this would be DA. And to execute that, I'll set up, so this is the A-perm, And then D needs to go to A, so I'll do a counterclockwise. Undo the setup, and now it's just these two swapped. So once I have these two swapped, I do a U setup, and then a J-Perm, which looks like this, /3/0 -3/3/-3/-3/, and then I have this case. So I would just do the parity and then undo that setup move, and it's solved. If you have parity on both edges and corners, you will have these two swapped and these two swapped, which is just a J-Perm. So set it up to here and then do the alg I just showed. And then undo that setup move. So that's basically all you need to know for execution. It's similar to 3x3 using 3 style, where I do 2 pieces at a time. So I'll set up the next 2 letters next to the buffer and then just do the cycle whichever way needs to be done to solve those 2 pieces, and then undo setup moves. I'm not going to go over anything now because I'll do a fair amount of it during the example solve. Okay, so now we'll do an example solve. I'm going to scramble with my orientation. So the scramble is 0, -4, 6, 3, -3, 3, -3, 0, 4, -5, -3, -4, -3, 0, 5, 0, -3, -5, 6, -5, 0, -2, -1, 0, and slash at the end. So here is my case. This is O and this is N, which is not a case I know, but I do know that I'm 1 slice away from EA, which I do know. So if I put these 5 pieces on top where these are and put these on bottom, I'll have EA. So I want to imagine these are here and these are here. So now I think of EA and the indicator, and I remember that it's IB. So on the top, I need to start with the most counterclockwise corner, which will be this, because when these pieces are up here, these will be edges. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, since I was my first indicator. And then the bottom indicator, the bottom indicator is B. So this will be a corner. So it'll be A, B. So this is my indicator. So this piece will be an M, and then this edge right here will be an A. Okay, so now let's memorize edges. First, I want to remember the matrix, which is IA, KV, JL, FU. So my buffer is the 4th letter, which is V. So I need to look at the piece that'll be in V. This will be M, so V is going to be right here, which is this piece. And that is M. So my first letter is M. Now, M is the 5th letter of the matrix, which is J. So I need to look in the J position. That is right, that's right here. So this piece will be there. And this piece is my buffer piece, so I need to open a new cycle. And usually I look to L to open a new cycle. So let's just make sure that that's not already solved. L is the first letter, which is I, and I is right here. So that's okay. The first 2 letters will be M, L, and then this is V. So I'll memorize mole, and then V is the 8th letter, which is U. And that'll be here but these two pieces are going to come down here. So this is U. This one's U, which is C. So VC, vacuum. The piece in C is the second letter, which is A. That's going to be right here. So this piece is going to be there, and that's L. So I'm going to have to open up a new cycle. Next I'll go for F. So F is the third letter, which is K. K will be right here, which is this. That's already going to be solved, so I can't open up a new cycle there. The only other two pieces I haven't used are P and S. So I'll check P. P is the sixth letter, which is L. That's going to be here. So this. Okay. So that is S. So P, LP is laptop, and then S. S is the seventh letter, which is F, and that's right here, which is P. So the last two letters are SP, which is soap. So my memo would be a mole vacuuming a laptop that is covered in soap. So now that I have the edges memorized, I'll memorize corners. So my matrix is GWBOQDMS. So the buffer is the first letter, which is G. So I look at G. If A is here, this will be G, and that piece is W. So my first letter is W. That is the fifth letter, which is Q. So I look at Q. If M is right here, this is actually Q, which is Q. So my first two letters are WQ, which is watch. So Q is the seventh letter, which is M. M is right here. But because I'm swapping these, this is actually what's going to be there. So this piece is A. So my next letter is A. And then A is the second letter, which is W. So I look at W. That's right here, which is this piece after I swap. So that's the buffer. So now I need to break into a new cycle. I'll pick G. So I need to check that G is not going to be solved. It's the fourth letter, which is O. O's right here, and that is D. So G is good. I'll memorize AG, which is alligator. And then D is my fifth letter. D is the third, which is B in my matrix. And B is going to be right here, but that's after the swap. So B is actually this piece, which is N. So DN is my next letter pair. That's donut. N is the sixth letter in the matrix, which is D. That's this piece. And that's T. So my next letter is T. T is the last letter in the matrix, which is S. So now I look at S. And that goes back to G. So T, G, which is tiger. So my memorization for corners would be a watch worn by an alligator and a donut eaten by a tiger. So now I have it all memorized. I'm going to execute. So I want to swap these. Now I have EA, and the indicators were I, B, so I set those up. Now what I would do is feel. So I feel that this is N, and this is T, and that has indicators CF, so A, B, C. So I put that piece in A, and then A, B, C, D, E, F. So I put that piece in M and do a slice. Now I have S, V, and the indicators are DB. So A, B, C, D. I put that here, and then A, B, and then slice. And now I have TT, and the indicators are FB. So A, B, C, D, E, F. That goes here, and then B, it's already there. And now I have both square. So next I do corners. The first was watch. So I need to set that up to the top. So first I'm going to put Q in G. And here's a trick. When you are doing slices to the top, with corners, you can do it either like this, with the top misaligned, or you can do it with the bottom misaligned. But you want to always do it the same way so that you don't get confused and forget which way you did it. So I always misalign the top. So to get Q into G, I'll do that misalignment, slice, and then put it back. And now I want W here. So I'll put W there, misalign, slice, and insert. So now these pieces are here. And the letter pair is WQ, so I need to do clockwise. So I'll execute that alg. And then undo the setups. Just like that. And now those are solved. Okay, so my next letter pair is AG, which is here and here. So what I'll do is do a setup to get these three in the right position. And then A needs to go to G, so that's a clockwise A-perm. So I do that alg. And then undo the setup. My next letter pair is DN. Okay, so this one's a little tricky. If I have D and a bottom layer, I'll put that bottom layer in the T position, and then misalign D, move it to the bottom, and then put D right here, so then N is here, and then misalign this way, so now D is here, N is here. So D was the first letter, so I'll do a clockwise A-perm. And then undo the setup moves. So then like this, and then there we go. So the last letter pair was TG. And this one's pretty easy, misalign, and put T up there. And this is also clockwise. So I'll execute that. And then undo that setup move. All right, now that corners are done, I'm gonna move on to edges. So the first letter pair of edges was ML. So I'll put M into the top layer. I'll put it right here and then slice up. So that put M up without disturbing L. And I want the buffer to go into M, so that's gonna be counterclockwise, which looks like this. And then I'll undo the setup move. So M is solved. Now the next letter pair was VC. So if I have C in the top layer and a bottom layer piece, I'll align it to the front like this, and then do an M2, which is 1/(-1) -1/1. So now the piece that was in V is up here, and that's the first letter, so I want to do a clockwise cycle, which looks like this. And then I undo that M2 and undo the setup. The next letter pair was LP, so I'll put that up very similar to how I did M. And then that's going to be clockwise. So, and then undo the setup. And lastly was SP. So what I'll do for this is put SP here, and then I'll misalign the top layer so that P goes up here. And then it's going to be SP, so counterclockwise. So I'll execute that. And now I undo the setup move. and then all I have is this slice to deal with, so /6/6/6, and I'm done. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped. I know Square-1 is really difficult and it can be confusing at times to do blindfolded, so if there's still something you're confused about, just leave a comment below and I'll try and help you out.